All right, so here's the grand finale of this series on loops. Um, what we're going to do here is we're going to use a for loop to print items into a file. And we're going to print items into a text file in particular. All right, and we're going to do a little bit different than the file writer demo 2.java file did it on page 247 of your book in section 4.10. And the reason why we're going to do it a little bit different because we already set up a buffer file here, the student buffer. It already keeps track of everything that all the strings that are inputted on into your file or into your program from the user. So we do need to make slight modifications, but all we need to do is actually just input this buffer file into the text file that we create. In your book, you write each line individually. So basically, you write the file line by line instead of collating everything to a string and then printing out. That method is more common and it has its advantages, but we since we've already built this part out, we can modify what we already have. So let's review what we need to add. And let's talk a little bit about a buffer. What is a buffer? Now, a buffer is basically a location in your RAM memory that stores data, and then it could either dump that data when the program is shut down or the computer is shut down, or store it into secondary memory. Secondary memory is typically either your disk drive or your solid state drive that you have your file saved on. Just for your information, all your the file directory that your projects are saved under are basically a student a student not student, but in this particular case, it's saved under student list. So users, my user profile, and then IDE projects, and then student list. So whenever we create a text file, that text file is going to be saved under this directory, pretty much under the same area as the Java file, unless you otherwise specify it to save under a different directory. We're not going to get into that into in this video because it'll get a little bit complex, but it does talk a bit about that in page 237, section 4, tag 10, specifying location for your file. So we'll go ahead and try to modify this file. First things first, we need to import a library. It'll be java.io star. And what that does is it enables us to get the Java library for file input and output. And then for the main method, we need to give the main method an ability to throw an exception. And all throwing an exception does is allows the program to exit if there's an unexpected event. All right, we'll get into more exception handling towards the end of the course. I was shooting to get to module 11, but it's very compressed. We can get through a lot of these concepts early. We can definitely get to exception handling. So either way, we're going to enable the main method to throw. So we're going to throw throws is the keyword IO exception, right? And all that does is just allows the main method and any other method that this main method calls on. You have to also put in throws IO exception to throw throw an exception to escape the to escape a sequence that is unexpected. So here we're going to initialize a new string. We'll call that string file name, and that file name is essentially exactly what it sounds like. It's the name of the file you're going to call on. And we can basically build out everything that we need after the the for loop that we built out. So after this, we can ask the user system.out that print line, enter the name of the student's file, and the user will enter that name, and then we'll use file name, and we'll set that equal to the scanner object dot, we'll call the method next line. We'll receive the next line that the user input will be the file name that the student data is going to be saved under. We'll type file is the object, and that's the particular instance, and we'll say new file and file name. And what we want to do here is figure out whether or not the file exists already. If the file exists already, we don't want to write over that file. We want to go ahead and tell the user, hey, that file already exists. Use another file name. So what we can do here is set up an if statement. If file dot exists, then we want to tell the user system out print line, and we want to tell the user different file name. So let's go ahead and put in we'll say the file. Let's do plus file name already exists, and then we'll go ahead and system dot exit, and we want to exit status 0. But if the file doesn't exist, we want to go ahead and create that file. So what we need to do is create an instance of the PrintWriter, not print stream, PrintWriter class, and we'll call that PrintWriter class in this particular instance file output or output file, and then again new PrintWriter, and we'll call again the instance of file, right? And from here, we'll go ahead and call on that file output or output file dot print line, and we'll and here what we did when we did a file or output file that print line is we're printing out a line to the file that we're opening up, and what we want to print out is student buffer. And all that does is go to dump the entirety of the information we collected from the user into the output file, right? And then as always, when we open a file, we want to close the file, and we'll do output file dot close. So we open the file here using the file name, and then we checked whether or not well, actually, we didn't open the file here. We initialized input output method, and then we check whether or not the file name actually exists. If it doesn't exist, we'll initialize the PrintWriter class, and a particular instance of that class is the object of output file. And then we open up the file name, and then we went ahead and printed inside of that file the information in student buffer, and then close that file. And then down here we can say the students in your class are still in student buffer, but then we can put down here new line, the student file is located at and we'll put file name. All right, so all of that, it will be pumped into will be pumped into into the new file. So again, let's review what we've done. We've initialized a string variable named file name on top of everything else we've done in previous lessons. We've added to the end of our our program a code that asks for the user to input a name of a file that he or she uh, wants to create. And then we check here if the file exists already. Then it's going to throw an error and say the file, whatever the name of the file is, already exists, and then exits the program. If it doesn't exist, then the PrintWriter, we initialize a instance of the PrintWriter class of output file, and we want to create the new file and that the user wanted. Uh, so that file is created here, and then we're going to output to the file the buffer that we've created in the for loop that we've created in the previous videos. And then once we've dumped all that information into the file, we'll output it and then close the file using that close method. Then we print out to the user here that the students in your class are whoever the user put in, and the student file is located at the file location. So let's go ahead and run this program. All right, so here it's asking how many students do you have in your class, and the answer to that we'll stick with 5. Okay, we'll input the same names we put in last time: Mark, Miles, Mary, Omar, and then Jim. And then we'll call the name of the student file students.txt, and the extension is important. You have to put it in .txt to tell the computer what type of file this program we're writing. And then if you notice up here, students.txt popped up, and that's a file that outputted the students in your class are Mark, Miles, Mary, Omar, Jim, and in order, and it then close the file. All right, so let's open up this text file. And it's the exact same thing down here in the console area. And you open up my file directory and you look under student list. You also see the student's text file here. You can open it up, and also the same thing in Notepad. So that's it on module 4, and I hope this was sort of put it together as to why loops are important, because you can write files with them and do a lot more. And if you have any questions, I will be posting this finalized version of the student class list program onto Canvas.